In this lesson, we want to build the controllers and action methods for our application. I have opened the default starter template in Visual Studio, so I'll just quickly show you the settings I chose to create this. If you go up to File, New Project, you'll be prompted to choose a project type, so just pick Web Application, and then you can call it whatever you'd like. After you hit OK, you'll be prompted with this configuration dialog. I simply chose the MVC template and then changed the authentication to Windows since we just want to keep this as a simple intranet app. So I'm just going to switch back to the project I already created. For this particular site, we want our controllers to mirror the general structure of the app. If I quickly pull up a picture of our application homepage, we can see how this might be organized. We'll want one controller for all of our messaging functionality, as well as one for all of the task-related features. We also need a controller that will populate the two main data grids in the center of the dashboard. We can modify our existing home controller to accomplish this task, so let's start right there. Let's open up that home controller and examine what we have currently. We can keep this index method as our home action, and this will ultimately become the path to that main dashboard. The other two methods we actually no longer need since our application is internal and it doesn't really require an about or a contact page or anything like that. Let's just quickly delete them. So now we'll only have one method in here, and for now that's really all we need in this controller. Moving on, we need to add another controller to handle our messaging features. We can do this by right-clicking on the controllers folder and choosing to add a new controller. I'll just choose the empty template to keep things simple for right now and select Add. So let's call this the Messages controller and then go ahead and commit that to your project. Inside of our new controller, for now we want to add two methods. The first we'll just call ViewAll, so I'll quickly type out public action result ViewAll and just finish stubbing out that method by returning a view. This method will display our full listings page of message threads. We also need another method that will handle the page where our admins can write a response back. Let's just copy and paste this first method and then change the name to reply. We also need to add corresponding views for these methods to return. If we glance over at our views directory and expand it, you can see that Visual Studio has added an additional subfolder for our new messages controller. This is an example of the convention-driven design of MVC. When the return view method executes, it looks for a view with the same name as the action method in a folder with the same name as the controller. Visual Studio has auto-generation shortcuts to speed up this process since it knows what to expect. Another example of how we can streamline this process is by just right-clicking inside of the body of one of our action methods. If we choose Add View, we'll get a nice little dialog box we can edit to quickly generate a view with the same name as that action method, and that'll go in the proper directory. All of this auto-populated info is actually what we want for right now, so go ahead and just choose Add. We can actually repeat this process for our reply view, so I'll go ahead and right-click again to add that as well, and that should pop into our messages directory. Now, there's obviously a lot more we'll end up doing inside these action methods, but this will at least get our basic pages displaying, so let's create the other controller that we need. I'll right-click on our controllers folder again and choose to add another one. Let's again choose the blank template, and then in the naming dialog, just call this task controller. This controller is similar to the messages one that we just created, so I'll just type out public action result view all, and then we can stub out that method body as well with our return view. I can copy and paste this method to create the other action that we need, and this will be our create edit method. This will handle creating new tasks and updating existing ones, so we'll look more at how this works in our module on working with forms. We also need to create our views, so I'll right-click inside the first one and add a new view. So go ahead and confirm that information in the dialog, and then we just need to repeat this process again for our second method. After those are all in place, you can also check and see that Visual Studio has added another views directory for us called task, which is what we would expect. That completes all the endpoints that we need for right now. We'll be adding a few more action methods as we move along through the course, but these are all the methods that generate full pages. We're only concerned with this basic outline right now. So let's quickly verify that these controllers are working properly. I'm just going to place a breakpoint inside of our ViewAll method, and then let's go ahead and run our application to test this out. After our site loads in the browser, you might notice that there are no nav links to any of the action methods we just created. We'll be tackling all of the interface and design elements in the next module, so for now we can just enter a few URLs directly into the address bar and make sure that they hit those action methods we created. So I'll just type localhost/task, which is our controller name, and then view all, which will determine which action method to target. If we hit enter, we should land on that breakpoint that we just set. There's nothing too special to see here yet, so let's just hit continue, and then we should get the blank view that we created for that action. So this is a great start. Our controllers are functioning as expected, which is all that we need to verify for right now. We're finally ready to start building out the visual design of this application.